Hello, good morning students. Welcome back. Nice and bright and sunny Monday morning, right? So all of you rise and shine. And have you all got your books ready? Books and pen. That's the most important thing when we are having an English grammar class. Because whatever you note down, you'll have to go through. On Wednesday, we're going to have a test. So all these topics will be included in that test. So hurry up, get that pen and paper, not paper. I preferably write it in one book continuously because it's easier when you revise. Okay, arithmetic have one book, or you could have half a book for arithmetic and the other half for English. Okay, you can take down points even in the soft skills classes just to remind you how to behave, but first have your book ready. Okay, good. And you must be wondering, oh, we already saw these slides. Why is ma'am having the same things? Because today we're going to continue on verbs, wherever we left off. But before we continue, I want to do a quick recap on what we did on in the previous class, actually. I think we did it on Friday, okay? So let's quickly go through what we did. As you all know, these are all verbs. Verbs are action words, right? Verbs are action words. Cooks, barked, runs are all action verbs. But can you see there is, on the other side, we have a auxiliary verb, something that is helping the verb to tell us in more detail about when that action was happening. Will cook means that action will happen in the future. And is barking, that action is happening in the present. And can run, again it's in the future. So these are called helping verbs or auxiliary verbs. So you have the main verb cook, barks, runs, and then you have will cook, is barking, and can run are called helping verb that support the main verb in a sentence. So this is what we learnt in the last class. So I'm just going through a quick recap so that you people have not forgotten, or just to remind you. So, auxiliary verb to be describes is like I am, is, was, were, are all auxiliary verbs which are sometimes called the helping verbs. Okay, so then we have to do. To do, does, did are again auxiliary verb which help. He did do his homework. Okay, she does feel hungry very often. Do you want to go today? Or did he come early? So all these are auxiliary verbs which help the main verb. I do not know the truth. She does not want to attend. Did you answer the question? These are, so there are three kinds of auxiliary verbs: to be, is, was, are, were, and then we have do, does, did, do, did are all to do, and then to have. Have, having, has, had. So those examples: I have been working, I have been sleeping late, or it has taken 2 hours. Okay, she has completed the project, she has completed her homework, has. She had written a beautiful letter. Okay, she had finished her dinner early. So all these are have auxiliaries for have. And so these are we checked all this. So now quickly we did a test. Now, sorry. So I think this is where we stopped, right? So there are some words called modal auxiliaries. Remember, this is where we stopped, so this is where I will continue. I just gave you a quick recap on what we did in the last class. Those who have missed it, You can please go through the grammar books and find it. Let's continue with this, and please note down these modal auxiliary verbs. They are very important. But before I start this, I want to tell you all something. You know, learning a language is like driving. Okay? When you drive, do you actually learn all the rules of the road? Give your left indicator when you're turning left, right indicator when you're turning right, accelerator when you want to go, and brake when you want. Do you read all that and learn to drive or ride a bike or ride a cycle? No, right? You just go learn, and then you look at all the rules of that particular thing, rules of driving, rules of the road, traffic rules. Similarly, if you learn all the rules of grammar, like that's what most people do. Whenever they want to learn spoken English, they want to speak English fluently, what do? They go and join some class, and in that class they'll teach them all the verbs, V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. They get perfect in knowing how that verb works, but then when it comes to speaking, they cannot, right? So then they flounder, and they become they're not confident, because you don't learn a language like that. How did you learn your mother tongue? How did you learn Telugu? Tell me. Did you learn grammar before learning Telugu? Before speaking, did you learn grammar? No. You just listened to other people speak, and then you spoke. You practiced. Look at a small child. The moment he hears one word, he keeps repeating that word again and again and again till he gets it right. Right? So that is what we have to do. We have to practice. If you practice, only with practice will you become better at that language. So practice. Whatever you're doing here, good. These are the rules of the language. You have to know them, because if you learn to ride without knowing the rules, you could have an accident, right? So you might hurt yourself. So you need to drive. Before you start to drive, you need to know the rules, right? You need to learn to drive, but before you actually go onto the road, you need to know the rules. Similarly, you need to learn to speak English before even knowing the rules. That is, just speak the language. Listen to the language more. Listen to programs in English. Listen to documentaries. Listen to even the Pogo channel. Any of those animation movies and all in English, watch them. Listen to how they speak. And then try to imitate them. There's nothing wrong in repeating. So imitation is actually the best form of flattery. When some hero does something, all of you imitate, right? Whether it's a gesture, or whether it's a collar, or whether it's a buckle, or whatever, you imitate. So that hero is flattered that you're all copying him. So imitation of the right thing is not wrong. So try to imitate that person. Look at news channels. Imitate that anchor. Then for vocabulary, read a lot. Doesn't matter what you read. You could be reading the English newspaper. If that's too much for you, read storybooks, read your younger sister's textbook. Read the small stories in Chandamama, English though. So read anything you can get your hands on. Read everything. Sometimes, when I'm traveling, earlier when we used to travel by train, sometimes I don't have the newspaper, today's newspaper. So what I used to do is pack yesterday's newspaper, and then I would get onto the train and I'd be reading the newspaper. And somebody would be telling me, as the passenger who's sitting across me, he'll say, "Madam, that is yesterday's newspaper." I'd say, "Doesn't matter. Even yesterday I didn't read the whole newspaper. So I'm just getting some information, which I don't mind, and probably I'm learning something new, some vocabulary, some word. I don't mind even if it was yesterday's newspaper. I'm not a news anchor that I have to go and give a speech, right? So I don't mind. So what was I doing? I'm just trying to read something. It could be yesterday's, it could be, we don't get the English newspaper. Okay, go somewhere where you can get even if it is yesterday's, doesn't matter. Take it, borrow it. When you can't get something, say beg, borrow, steal. Don't steal, but beg, borrow, and then get it, and then read it. So, by now I'm sure you've written down all these models because this is what I wanted you to do. So, now, how do we use this model auxiliary verbs? So, model auxiliary verbs are actually helping verbs. They help the main verb. There's one rule in model auxiliary verbs is helping verbs can exist without the main verb. Okay? But a model auxiliary can only assist a main verb. That is, after a model auxiliary, the main verb always follows. Like, Rahul can run fast. Remove the main verb, remove run. Rahul can fast. Does it make sense? No, right? So, only when you have the main verb run, Rahul can run fast. You get the meaning. Similarly, it could rain today. It rained today. People will be still waiting. What do you mean? So, rain is the main verb here. A model auxiliary is just telling the, sometimes it is telling the possibility. Sometimes it's giving ability. So, these verbs are just giving more clarity to that sentence. Saying, is there, it could be ability, it could be possibility, it could be permission, it could be politeness, it could be asking for permission. It could be a possibility of something happening, it could be a suggestion. So, these words actually tell the purpose of that sentence. So, model auxiliary verb, what is the purpose of these model auxiliaries? Can, could, mainly can and could are the main model auxiliaries. There are about more than 24, I will show them to you. So, can and could actually are asked for permission, for ability, for politeness, for possibility and also suggestion. Let's look at the examples. Rahul can run fast. Can means I can do something. Generally I know lots of students or lots of children who say, I can able to eat fast. So, what is can and what is able? Able is also ability. I am able to run. Able is also an ability. Able actually means ability. So, when you say can is already an ability. I can able to do it, ma'am. So, that's wrong. Do not use can and able together. So, Rahul can run fast. It could rain. Rain means, could means a possibility of rain. Could you please pass me the book? Which shows a request. Can I please eat my lunch now? Again a request. Could you wear golden earrings with this dress? A suggestion. You can go to the exhibition, a permission. So, can and could can be used in these ways. When you enter a room, what do you say? Ma'am, can I enter? Can I enter, ma'am? Please, please can I enter? Can is also used for asking permission, but there is a more polite way of asking permission. Can shows ability, right? So, what is a more polite way? We will see in the next slide. So, I hope you've got at least one sentence of ability, possibility, request, polite request, suggestion. Please write them down. Voice was not hearing, sirs. All of you can hear my voice? Okay, so I'm just giving you some time so that you can write down these sentences. Yes. Yes, we ask, may I come in? Exactly. Somebody is asking me if I'm a fan of Pawan Kalyan. No, actually, I'm not a fan of Pawan Kalyan, but I know that most of you are fans of Pawan Kalyan. So when I take Pawan Kalyan's name, I know you will stand up and listen and sit up and listen. That's why I take his name. I'm more a fan of Mahesh Babu, I think. Okay, so I'm not a Pawan Kalyan fan, but then we're all fans of some actor. There is no offense to any actor when we say I'm a fan of somebody, doesn't mean I don't see his movies. I watch his movies also. So that's how you should be. You should not be intense about something, right? You are at an age when somebody will impress you so much. But for that, you don't have to fight with somebody who likes everybody has their own likes and dislikes, right? You like one actor, somebody else like, so you don't have to fight saying he's the best, because Pawan Kalyan will not come and give you 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees for saying he's the best. You will only fight with your friend for Pawan Kalyan. What is the result? You both will fight, he will be quite happy. So doesn't matter, we all like some people, somebody else is some other fan. So don't worry about who's fan. Just concentrate on whether you like that movie, because some of Pawan Kalyan's movies have a good message. The recent one, Vakil Saab, though it is a remake of Pig, it has a message, right? So that's what I like about his movies. So anyway, I hope you've written down these examples. Yeah. So may and might, the next model auxiliary verbs are may and might. So what is the purpose of using may and might? Is indirect speech. He said that it might rain today, or might is used mostly whenever you're in reported speech. When somebody said something, if I say it may rain today, somebody who hears me, madam said it might rain today. So may and might are used like that. And possible request, may I know your name? Like somebody said, may I come in? Is that correct, ma'am? That's absolutely right. May I come in is exactly a very polite request. Can I come in is still asking, showing your ability. Like we used to have a principal when I was studying, and whenever I said, madam, can I come in? She would say, you can, but you may not. So then we had to change and say, madam, may I come in? And then she would say, yeah, you may. So may is more polite than can. Okay, remember this when you're entering a room or asking for permission. May I borrow your pen? Can I borrow? Of course you can borrow it. You have the ability to borrow it. But may is more polite than can. So the players might practice to show possibility of what might happen in the future. You may take holiday tomorrow. You may take leave tomorrow. Permission is granted. Suraj may bake a cake for you. Again, possibility. So may and might show both possibility. Might is used in indirect speech for and then for granting permission. May I come in? Yes, that's for granting permission. Next, shall. So how is shall used? Shall is another important. Shall, should, must and ought to. So we'll see shall here. I shall be helping Diya distributing clothes to the needy. Promise. I shall surely come tomorrow. So what are you doing when you say shall? You are saying you're going to fulfill that promise. I shall come tomorrow without fail. Shall come. See how it is always preceded. Model auxiliary always precedes the main verb. That means it is always followed by another verb. I shall come. I shall be helping. Okay, and I shall ask my manager and let you know. This shows instructions. Okay, you should take your medicines. To give instructions, you should do this. To ask, take instructions, and also to give instructions. You should take your medicines on time. You should study hard to get a first rank. Okay, you should take down the notes to do well in your test. So to advise, to suggest, to promise and to give or take instructions. So ought to. So must and ought. So we must reach on time. To promise suggests a strong necessity. Something that somebody should be doing, must be doing. There's a slight difference between must and should. Generally they are used interchangeably, it's okay. So you must study hard. You should study hard. Which is more stronger? Should is more stronger than must. But must also suggests a necessity or a compulsion. You must come in early for the class. You must log in on time. Okay? So this is also a compulsion. And then ought to. Ought to is more like to express your obligation. You ought to study hard to please your parents. That means because your parents are doing everything for you, you have to study hard. Ought to, obligation. Ought to also shows advice. You ought to, reduce your screen time so that you can concentrate on your studies. So ought to visit the dentist. So ought to also means something that you need to do to show a necessity. Okay? So must and ought to are used like that. And then will and would. So these are again very common auxiliary verbs which we use. The Guptas will reach the hotel in an hour. It's a promise. This will is a promise. I will help him. It's a willingness which you are doing with your own willingness. Okay. Would you please come to the door to the doctor or accompany me to the doctor? Polite request. Would you is a polite request for something that could happen in the future. Would you tell me when I can come to collect my parcel? Would you let me know? Would you call me please? Would you call me please? Means it's a polite request. Here also that is inquiry. Would you tell me the directions to the post office? A gentle inquiry. I will read out a story to you every night. Determination. I will work hard to succeed in this exam, or I will win this competition. A full determination. This is what the determination that sports people have. I would rather have fruits than eat nothing at all. Would is also used to show your preference. I would prefer tea to coffee. Okay, I would prefer to go by walk than by a bike. So would also shows preference. So will to make promises, to show willingness, to show determination. Would a polite request, an inquiry, and to show preference. So I have a small video for you to add to what I have said. So if you find something more than what I have said, please note it down. But more or less it's the same thing. So just go listen to it. I'm sure you'll like it. Okay, did you like that? Okay, so I'm sure you enjoyed that video. So did you see how we use modal auxiliary verbs in our daily language, in our day-to-day use? We use a lot of them without even knowing it. You know, will, would, shall, should, may, might, so can, could. So all these are used all the time. It's just that we do not know them and we use them. Sometimes we use them correctly, sometimes a little incorrectly. What is the difference between shall and will, ma'am? Will is he will come this afternoon. That is something that he might do or something that he can do. Shall is compulsion. You shall do your homework without fail. You should. Shall is, it is a necessity. You have to complete it. So shall and will, there's a slight difference there. Why should we use shouldn't instead of mustn't? Yes, very good question. Because mustn't and shouldn't are very close. Mustn't also say must and should also speak of something that should a necessity. Okay? There is just a slight variance in degree. Mustn't is a little lesser than shouldn't. Shouldn't is more or less like an order. Okay? You shouldn't do this from now on. Okay? Whenever somebody is giving an order, it would be a should rather than a must. You mustn't do it this from now on. It tells you that you shouldn't do something regularly. So mustn't is and shouldn't is an order. So remember, you should, so plucking flowers, because she doesn't know whether to pluck the flowers and all, she didn't say shouldn't, she said you mustn't pluck these flowers instead of shouldn't. Let's look at some friendly models or models which politely ask for a request, a suggestion, a permission. Let's look at these models. You may sit down. This suggests permission. Okay? You can sit down. Generally, the teacher might also say you can sit down. That is your ability, but may is more polite, as I told you, or while giving or taking permission. They ought to submit the project today. Ought to tells you something that they ought to do. It's a necessity, what they have to complete. Or you could even write they must submit the project today, which is more. Ought to is you have to do it in that time. Must is a little more serious. Should, you should submit the project today is also right. Should is more like an order. Okay. So Vikram shall lead the team from round 1. Instruction. Shall. You shall not go out in the break, or you shall go out only during the break. It's an instruction. Shall is used for instruction. Nobody should put their hands or heads outside of the window when the bus is moving. So here it's more or less like an order because it's very dangerous. It's a sort of an advice, but more strong advice. And then it might not show tonight. So there's a possibility that it might not, some star it might not show tonight, or there might not be a show tonight. So these are friendly models. So now let's look at what these are. I can read out a story to you every night. What does it show? I can, ability. Always can shows ability. You may use use my umbrella for the day. What does that show? It shows permission. It shows while giving permission, you may use my umbrella. Okay? May I use your umbrella while taking permission? You may use my umbrella while giving permission. They might have to visit the doctor, a possibility. In the future, they might have to go to the doctor. I might have to borrow your umbrella if it rains, a possibility. Okay? You could carry an extra pair of clothes, suggestion. You could come a little early so that you don't have to hurry. Or we could reach the station a little earlier. So These are all suggestions. Could is suggestions. You could pack your lunch and take it with you so that you don't have to look for food or for a canteen. So, could is to suggest. You should do something is more like an advice or more like an order. You should do it. You should complete your homework on time. You could also use must. You must complete. That is something, it's sort of a suggestion. Suggestion is must. Advice or sort of an order is should. So now fill in the blanks, putting the correct primary auxiliary verbs. You already have done this earlier. So what is the correct auxiliary verb? She dash preparing the dinner tonight. What is the correct one? So what is the correct blank here? I'm sure all of you know this. Right? Perfect. Is. Next one, the lost water bottle were found or was found. I'm sure you have it all right. You going to the principal today. Are going to the principal today. These were like very easy peasy, right? Very, very simple. Is, was, are. Yeah. Can, shall be a replacement of can, can I go and get some water? Okay, that is one sentence. Shall I go and get some water? Shall is more like asking a question. Can is more like a request, right? Can I go and get some water? If you're in class and can I get some water, ma'am? Okay, that's a request or asking for permission. But shall I go and get it is like asking a question. Do I need to go and get it? Shall I? Do you want me to go and get it? So that is the difference between can and shall. So let's go to the next one. Before we go to the next one, let's see another small video on modal verbs. I'm sure the earlier one helped you how we use modal auxiliaries in day-to-day language. So let's look at this video and learn a little more. So again, we saw how need to, must to, ought to are also um, model auxiliary verbs. So I would enroll for an online class rather than learn anything, than not learn anything. Preference, how? Would is showing preference. I would rather go to the beach than to a restaurant. So I would rather go to the beach. I would enroll for an online class. So I would is also used to show preference. I would like to eat vegetarian instead of non-vegetarian. Okay. Vedika can speak in French and Japanese. Ability. Can, as you know, is ability. The match could get delayed if it rains. Possibility. You know, the match could be won by India. Possibility. Divya said that she will write a letter to me every day. Promise. Will shows promise. I will complete the work by tonight or by this afternoon is a promise. So there are more auxiliary model auxiliary verbs. I've got, I think, about 24 of them here. Am, is, are, has. If you want, you can note them down. Have, had, were, being, been, would, can, shall, will, should, could, does, do, may, might, must, was, be, did. These are most of the auxiliary verbs we use very frequently in English when we speak our day-to-day English language. Let's go to the next one. So it's quiz time. Kids, are you all ready? Very simple, very easy. Quickly tell me what are the right answer, the first 6 blanks, and as you tell me, I'll be writing them down. She dash watching movie. Here there could be a small thing. You should probably add a movie here. She, the first blank would be, I'm sure you've got it all right, easy. It's very easy, yeah. Is watching a movie. The children, because it is children, you've done is. Were, I dash having another piece of margherita pizza. I am, he dash making breakfast for us now. Is, the flat tire dash changed by Joseph. Tom dash given the grand prize. So I'm sure, so let's see the next one. Has, can, could, has, can. So what is the Mark dash a large coffee stain on his shirt. Betty dash to pay her own tuition at college. She dash to have been the first student. My friend dash always beat her sister. Tommy dash write poetry very well. I dash help you with next Saturday. Simple, right? So Mark has, Betty has to pay, she dash to have been the first student. She, my friend Tommy can write poetry very well. I could help you next Saturday. So can, could, has. She has to have been the first student to try that. My friend can always beat her sister. Actually, the usage is right, but the meaning of the sentence is not very correct. Okay? So do not try to beat. This is wrong. He has advised me. Would you like a cup of English tea? Shall I call a dentist for you tomorrow? You must try this chicken. You dash. You mustn't drive over the speed limit. Mustn't is just short form of must not. Jessica may arrive late. So these are must, would, shall, may. And with that, we come to the end of this session, and please practice all your modal auxiliary verbs, because you will be having a test on these on a Wednesday. The verbs, auxiliary verbs, modal auxiliaries. With this, I'm sure you'll become perfect and how to use your modal auxiliary verbs. Okay? See you all in the next class. Bye.